Songs of remembrance begin. The child of the Father is lost in the ocean of love, holding the hand of the guide through the path of confusion inside. Tears become pearls in the silence and passing of time.
Hello, Om Shanti. Welcome, everybody. We are so thrilled that you are here with us today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, in whatever part of the world you are calling in from. On behalf of the International Young Adults Retreat Team, or previously known as the IYF, I would like to welcome you here. Hopefully you've been to some of our previous events. I think I see some familiar names and faces here. I would love to quickly hear also where our global family is right now. So if you want to just put in the chat where you're zooming in from today, that would be great. I know I'm in California, in the US right now. Sister Dipti here with me today is calling in from South Africa. We've got many other siblings from around the world here today. Okay, we've got Dubai, Madagascar, Ukraine, France, India, Greece, Malaysia, Belgium, wow, London. We have the whole world sitting here right now with us. That is pretty incredible. So today's session, we've got Trinidad, Indonesia. I see all of you guys. Amazing. So like this, we want this session. This is an interactive session. This is, you know, we're all a family. We're here today to celebrate and enjoy each other's company, and hopefully provide a space for us to really take some time for our own reflection, our own spiritual growth together in that friendship. So this event will be about 2.5 hours long, just so that you can prepare yourself accordingly. And the flow of the event will be, the beginning will have some friendship rooms. These are a chance for us to really just connect in that spiritual friendship with each other. For many of us, it's been a long time since we've either seen each other in person or connected online. So we'll provide a space for us to connect. And then we'll have a second part be a Murli exploration that will be facilitated by Sister Dipti and myself. And then we will have the third part of the event be sort of a discussion and an exploration on yoga. And that will be facilitated by Yogesh Bhai, who will be joining us later. So that will be the program of today's event. Some technical notes before we get started. The first is to grab a pen and paper, or pencil and paper, some type of writing utensil. You can use your computer if needed, but I do recommend physical paper and pen, because I think we will have an exercise later in this session that will require some writing. So when you get a chance, go grab that. We request that everybody stay muted when you're not speaking. You do have the ability to unmute yourself if you'd like to share later on in the session, but for right now, if you can keep yourself muted, that would be great. We would love for you to have your videos on the whole time, if possible, because it's so beautiful seeing your faces and not talking to empty black boxes on a screen. So if we can see your beautiful face, that will just make this all the more special. The chat box is open, so if you have questions or concerns or comments throughout the program, you are welcome to put those in the chat box. If you have specific technical questions or concerns, then I would request that you direct message Sister Sapna or Sister Mona, just so that it doesn't get lost in the chat. So if you have a specific either technical question or other issue, you can direct message in Zoom Sister Sapna or Mona. Lastly, this session is being recorded so that others can benefit from it who cannot be here live with us, but the breakout rooms will not be recorded. So you can share freely. Whatever you share will remain just between your group. That is not being recorded. And before we also get started, as I explain the friendship rooms, feel free to also grab a cup of chai, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. Just sit down. This is basically like a group of friends sitting together and catching up. So feel free to make yourself comfortable with a snack or whatever else you want. And what is going to happen now is these friendship rooms. So what we're going to do is put everybody in a small group in a breakout room. And there's one very simple but very deep question for you guys to answer. And that is, how are you, really? This is a question that, how many times a day do you think you ask this question to other people, or someone asks you? You put it in the chat. How many times a day do you think you either hear or respond to, how are you? Any guesses? There's no right answer. 5 times a day, 10 times a day, in your average day? No? 3 times? Okay, yeah, so probably between maybe like 3 to 7 times a day this question is asked, but how often are we actually really either sharing honestly how we are, or waiting to listen with a real open heart how another person is doing. Oftentimes, this question is asked just in passing, very quickly. You're already walking away before somebody can actually respond. So today we're keeping this simple and sweet, but it's also a very deep question because there are many aspects to how we are doing. There's how are we doing physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So 4 different levels of how are you doing. How are you doing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? So that is the question to discuss when we're together. And if you don't know each other already, if you don't know the people in your breakout rooms, then maybe just start with a brief introduction of yourself as well. And once the rooms open, we will have about maybe three to 5 people per room. It'll be for about 15 minutes. So hopefully everybody has about 3 to 5 minutes to share about themselves. Again, please keep your cameras on if possible. That just makes sharing openly and honestly a lot more authentic if we can really speak face to face there. And we request that those who need Indonesian translation, please don't join any breakout rooms when it pops up on the screen. Please do not click join. You will all be placed in a separate breakout room so that you can speak freely without translators needed. So you'll be assigned together. Okay. And if anybody is not comfortable or does not want to join one of these friendship rooms for whatever reason, that is okay. Instead, you can not join the breakout room and instead stay in this main session where we will just be having some yoga and silence. So those are your options. You can join the breakout room or you can remain here in silence. Okay. Any questions so far on that? The issues. I'm going to put the question up again. How are you really? So think about your spiritual well-being, mental, physical, emotional. Okay. With that, are our breakout rooms ready? I think we can go ahead and start chatting. Go grab your cup of chai, your tea, settle in. And when you see the join pop up, go ahead and join. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the people from Indonesia can join to room 20. Why you? You have been given a room 20.
Thank you, bye.
Oh, the beautiful sound of your beautiful faces. How you touch me, love so strong, so pure, and the world is lost to me. In the gentleness of your eyes, I am led to meet myself. In your mirror there lies my heart, so full of pride, yet still you draw me near. Over darkest hills of fear I have traveled. So long have I searched for your ever silent song, for the beauty. So long have I yearned for the one who knows the secrets of my broken heart. Now you're here with me. Let me live inside your hands, for now the world is lost to me. Let me live inside your heart, for now the world is lost to me.
Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you had a good chit chat. Maybe you met somebody new. Maybe you talked to an old friend. Did you have fun? Hopefully you guys actually talked. You can let us know how that was for you, whether you enjoyed that or not. And I am here with one of my good friends, Sister Dipti, if we can have her be spotlighted on the screen as well. So Dipti and I have been friends for many years. And for those of you who are familiar with the young adult retreat team, or who have been fortunate enough to go to one of the retreats in Madhuban during December, you all know that Sister Dipti is like the mother and the big sister of our whole group. So we are very happy to have her be with us here today as a friend to us all. And so, Sister Dipti, thank you. And I wanted to just kick it off, we're now entering into the second section of the program, sort of focusing in on the Murli and Murli exploration and churning. And so if you wanted to, I guess my question, and we can have a conversation about this, is sort of what your relationship with the Murli is.
So firstly, it's really lovely. Every time I see my wonderful young friends, I always think about what Daddy had said to me, Daddy Janki, and she had said to me that you must always come for the youth retreat. And I said to Daddy, but I think the hair is getting grayer. I'm not sure about this youth retreat. And Daddy had said, well, you are an honorary youth, and Daddy would always love you to spend time with the youth. And so today also, as I was getting ready for the program, I took Drishti from Baba and I took Drishti from Daddy. And I know that Daddy is with us too, because every time in December when we go to Madhuban, it was like our Daddy Janki just always waited to be with us too. So I feel today she's also here. So I feel right now, I don't know if there's a word called a 4-0 or a 3-0, but I feel Baba is here and Daddy's here. And so we are all having a conversation together. Mm-hmm. But I think just the whole aspect of the relationship with the Murli, and it's been a very special moment for me, because when I came to Baba, I was 19 years old, and I just, everything happened so quickly, and I knew that Baba had come, and I was so happy to go and listen to Baba and Baba's Murli. And then I wasn't allowed to go to the center. So my friend used to put the Murli in the lunchbox. And she would come and visit me, and I would also get the Murli. And it was such a beautiful moment. So for me, the Murli is my love connection. It's like from the very beginning, the feeling that God wants to talk to me. And so it's not just an official study moment. It's my love connection. Yeah.
Wow. Gorgeous. So one thing that we talk about a lot, or that Baba talks about, is this idea of churning the Murli, sort of churning, like churning butter, churning the Murli. What does that look like for you sort of practically? I know that, maybe there are systems or steps or creative ways to do it. Does it always have to be very analytical and sort of following a certain process, or can it look like many different pathways? And what are some of those? What have you explored with over the years?
I think, we all different, and people have different styles. So I'm a heart person. You make me to think too much deeply. I don't think at all. I like freeze. So I think for me, it's like when I listen to Baba's Murli, there's a fragrance. So it's not just the words, there's a fragrance. I remember once somebody shared a so-called Murli, and they said, this is Baba's Murli. And I just read the first sentence and I said, no, this is not Baba's Murli. I just knew it wasn't Baba's Murli. And so Baba's Murli for me is a very special energy. One is that Baba is teaching me, but there's a fragrance of purity, and there's a fragrance of love, and there's a fragrance of relationship. So all these flavors actually come out of the Murli. So it's not just having the points. And sometimes when people say share the points from the Murli, and I feel it's like sharing an ingredient. I want to taste the cake. You can either have the cocoa or you can have the cake. And for me, I find that all the ingredients of the Murli produces that special cake. Well, you can see where my head is right now. But anyway, it's been such a beautiful feeling of the fragrance. And I think some people listen to the Murli and say, well, I like this point, or some write down all the points. But I feel when I leave the Murli, when I put the Murli down, or I leave the Murli class, I don't leave with points. I leave with a heart filled with a connection.
Mm. Mm. I love that analogy to cake, and maybe it's a signal it's almost snack time. But I agree, I couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better myself. So then, how do you you talked about wanting that full picture, the sort of fragrance of all of it. How does that actually apply, or how do you use that to apply to your life? Because there's one thing to sort of be in the intellect side of, okay, Baba says this and that fits into this picture of how Gyan works. But then there's the other side, which is that I'm a student or I'm at work and I have some difficult situation or question in front of me. And we're sort of told that the Murli has the answers, but sometimes it can be maybe a little challenging to extract those answers from a Murli that maybe seems a little vague to us.
Yes.
So what's that process like?
I find that you have to make the Murli very personal. So after I listen to the Murli, I have a book. And in this book, it says, Dear Dipti, today, Baba would love you to just have good manners. Like today's Murli. Well, you still woke up now, Shivani. Shivani's at Amrit Vela time and I'm at lunchtime. But so today Baba was talking about divine manners. And so Baba was talking about the manners of purity. And so just that feeling, I would just take a few points. You don't have to take note down everything. But for me, I write it down as a special note from God. So I don't just write Murli points. After I've heard the Murli points and I've got it in my book, I just write like a 5-liner or a 6-liner. Dear Dipti, today Baba really would love you to have divine manners. It's the beauty of your deity lifestyle. It's like whatever 5 or 4 points with love, Baba. And I find, and I put it on my phone then. First, I can't, I'm not a person that just works on computers because I don't feel the heart. So I have to write it paper to pen, pen to paper. And then I photograph it and put it on my phone. So every now and again, I can pick up my phone and say, Dear Dipti. And it feels like that special note. So that keeps the Murli alive for me in a very real way. So even when things do happen, I think, okay, divine manners. It's the manners of purity. So it's natural. It has to be natural. If we want to really enjoy Baba, we have to be natural. Otherwise, when things get tough, we freeze, and that's not what it's all about.
Wow. And that's such a simple tactic, a simple tool to use there, of instead of keeping the points sort of analytical or in the vague, you must do X, Y, Z, or one must do this. Instead, it's
I really can't do it that way.
Yeah, rewriting it for yourself. That's very powerful. Very powerful. So then my sort of last question here, just to dig a little bit deeper, because our discussion here is sort of a heart-to-heart one, is that sometimes there are words or ideas in the Murli, sometimes we resonate with very easily, and sometimes there are certain words or concepts, and maybe it's just how it's being translated into our knowledge versus the original Hindi or Sindhi that it was spoken in. But certain things that can trigger us in a maybe negative way, or words that we don't like, or things like that. So I can give a personal example to clarify this. We were talking the other day about this word obedience, and how as a soul who has grown up in the West, and has been sort of trained with this idea of independence, that the word obedience, I have some resistance to, because it has been used in history to be, you have to be obedient to another human or to a system. And there's sort of some internal resistance to that idea. But of course, that's not really how Baba is intending to use that word at all. So how do we sort of process our Kali Yogi reaction to something and sort of keep what the actual truth is in front of us?
Lovely. I think you used a very real word that sometimes can create resistance, or words that we've grown up with, and we think, God, you also want to use this word, maybe choose some other word, But I was thinking as you used the word obedience, and Dadi keeps 3 words together: Agyakari, Imandari, and Wafadari. Be obedient, faithful, and honest. So these 3 energies really depict the whole journey of, it's not just obedient to someone, it's an obedience to an energy. And so for me, when we, like 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago, not the past Sunday, the Sunday before that, was Baba's Murli on obedience. And Baba was talking about the reason why we can't have remembrance at time. And Baba was talking about that there's subtle obedience, disobediences that may be there. And so just coming back to understanding why certain words. So firstly, there's a connected of energy. So as I said, Agyakari, Imandari, Wafadari. So it's an energy. And secondly, it's like my obedience is to Shrimad. My obedience is to truth. My obedience is not to other people. Now, often the resistance comes because in the world, we have been brought up with the feeling of you have to be obedient to so-and-so. You have to be obedient to this. But here where Baba is very powerfully opening it up to say, you need to be obedient to truth. And so when I'm obedient to truth, I'm aligning my energy. And when you're obedient to a higher energy, it will carry you. If you're obedient to people, they will control you. So there's a big difference between being controlled and being carried. So how Baba's saying today that I will carry you. Just stay obedient to me. It's like I'm giving you the GPS signal. Just keep to it because I'll show you the way out. And then if you decide that you don't want to be obedient and you'll take all the different roads, certainly you're not going to reach your destination. So when we stay obedient to truth as such, that obedience carries you. So sometimes when certain words do create a bit of a reaction, just relax. Don't come to a conclusion. Just say, okay, but Baba, I'm sure Baba's trying to say something here. I think even for some people, when they hear the word surrender, and there's been so many, there's a baggage or a story behind surrender, and they think, ooh. And so, but behind the surrender, Baba's bringing about such a beautiful energy of freedom. And if you just have the courage to look beyond that, you'll experience the freedom, you'll experience being carried. So Baba's choice of words are there to set me free, not to bind me. I just have to open my heart and give myself the permission to see why Baba's using which words he's using. So keep to the GPS, it will take you to where you have to be there.
Absolutely. Not to get too in the weeds with each individual word, and really just catching the essence that's being said there. Absolutely. So then, as we've discuss this sort of practice. It sort of develops, it sounds like over many years, you've developed this practice of how to really apply these things to your life and not just keep it up, here and above in your head. So that's something that I think would be great for us to experience together. So I'm going to share my screen here. And this is where the pen and paper will come in handy if you remember to grab that, or if you can have something to write on next to you. We're going to have just about 3 to 5 minutes, so relatively quick, to answer 2 questions here. The first step is just to write down any key words or sort of energies that have been alive in your life this year. Anything that has been, any words you would use to describe how life has been, either on a physical, spiritual, emotional level in this last year. So write down those key words on a piece of paper. And then the next step will be to spotlight, so sort of highlight, select which of those many energies, maybe it's a situation that's in front of you, or maybe it's a question. So which energy, situation, or question is dominant in your life right now? Which one is sort of taking over, or it's right in front of you? And what you're going to do is just free write about whatever that spotlight issue is right now. And one helpful technique that Dipti has shared in the past, and that we encourage you to use, is this idea of spiral writing. So that means that if you write a keyword in the middle of your piece of paper for step 1, and then you write in a circle like this. So you keep turning the page, turning the page, turning the page as you write. Okay, this is just for you. No one's seeing it. So are the instructions clear? First, write down, zoom out, look at your whole life this year. What are all the things happening? Then zoom in, spotlight one situation, one question, and just have a few minutes to write free flow what comes to mind. Okay, so we're gonna have a few minutes of silence for you to think about these 2 questions. We have some examples if you're stuck a little bit on keywords or energies. Might be like, maybe this year has been joyful. Maybe it's been very anxious. Maybe it's been stressful. Maybe it has been full of learning and newness. Maybe it's an energy of transformation, lots of things changing around you. Maybe it's an energy of stability. Maybe you have finally found your piece, your part of the world. So those are some examples of different words. Okay, start wrapping up your final sentence. You can always add more to this later. You can go quite deep with this exercise after this session as well. Good prompts for further exploration. For now, we'll wrap that part up. We can have the music pause. Thank you. And so now that we've sort of looked at the big picture of our life and identified sort of one situation or question that's dominant right now, now is the time where we turn to the Murli to start this practice of how can we sort of extract, this truth or apply this truth to our life. So we have a couple of Baba's words to start out with on what Baba has said directly from these Avyakt Murlis about churning. And these are great ones that Sister Dipti has pulled out. And so I'll request her to also just read them to us, one in her lovely voice. It's so lovely to hear her speaking softly to us, but also because maybe not everybody is comfortable speaking reading in English. So Sister Dipti, if you can mesmerize us now.
I just want to put a context as to why we have this. Is because in the first part, we looked at where we are right now. And Baba's Murli helps us to address what is important, because Baba in Baba's Murli is able to respond to your life. Baba's just not here as a detached teacher. He's part of your life and he wants to respond to your life right now. So because that Murli is that personal response from Baba, it's very, very important that what we did as an exercise just before allows me to be with Baba in a certain way, where I've said to Baba, this is how I'm feeling now. So then Baba's Murli helps us to say, you mustn't just repeat them, meaning the points, but firstly, what is the significance of every point? So how is this point talking to you right now? The second one, at what time? So when do I use this point? Thirdly, with what method must I use every point? Four, with what method must I use every point for the service of others? So listen to every point and think about these four things. So this is a very, very important energy, because every Murli and every point can work for you very, very practically. And we will use this soon as an example with one of the Murlis. But just first take note of these 4 points: the significance, at what time do I use it, with what method I use it for the self, and how do I use this for others. And I'll explain it a little bit more deeper after we go through it. The second aspect, and this for me is a very special excerpt, because I remember the first time when I was in front of Bab Dada on the 23rd of December 1987, and Baba had spoken this Murli then on, and this was my introduction to Baba's Murli and churning. So Baba said, those who churn always churn what they hear, and they also become embodiments of that point of knowledge. Those who have churning power automatically become embodiments of virtue, embodiments of power, embodiments of knowledge, and embodiments of remembrance. Because to churn means to digest food of knowledge with your intellect. Just as you are unable to create energy in yourself if you are not able to digest the food you eat, it just remains a taste in your mouth. In the same way, for those who simply speak knowledge, the knowledge just remains on their lips. However, the other ones become powerful by imbibing it in their intellects with the power of churning. Those who have churning power become powerful souls in everything. Those who churn always remain busy in thoughts of the self, and they thus easily become liberated from the many obstacles of Maya, for their intellect is busy. So Maya sees them busy and steps away. Secondly, because of becoming powerful through churning, their own stage can prevent them from being defeated in any situation. So those who have churning power remain introverted and are thus always remain happy because of having the power to use the powers at the right time. They have liberation from Maya. So such children come in the list of victorious souls. So we see how Baba has really provided us with this very beautiful energy of saying, what are the benefits of churning? In this excerpt, we really find how Baba's provided us with the method, so that Baba's saying when you churn, you become powerful. It's that digested energy that will support you, you know? So now, using that, we're going to go into this, a very beautiful excerpt. I'm sure you remember this one. So I think this was last week Sunday's Murli, where Baba was saying, with one strength and one support, his intellect had faith. This was the Murli on the specialities of Brahma Baba. And he became the #1 victorious soul. Because of his surrender, his intellect was always light. He didn't have any burden on his intellect. His mind was carefree. On his face, you always saw the clear signs of a carefree emperor. He remained cheerful and unshakable. This is the Father's responsibility, not mine. I belong to the Father, and the children also belong to the Father. I'm just an instrument. Who can have such faith and remain carefree? A soul who is surrendered with his mind and intellect. He did not use the mind, he did not use his intellect and think, I don't know what is going to happen. Will everyone starve? Will this happen or that happen? Despite having a margin for such waste thoughts and doubts, he always had powerful thoughts. The Father is always the protector and benefactor. This is the speciality of surrender. So just as Father Brahma surrendered and took the first step of courage, follow the Father in the same way. Faith definitely brings victory. This is known as not having questions, not having a crooked path, but always putting a full stop of benefit. So we talked about the Murli, the first part where Baba was saying, look at the 4 aspects of the significance, the timing, the method, and how you can use it for others. And I'd like you to do that exercise with this, keeping into account what you had written. So remember when we started off, where you started with your reflection, where you are right now. And feel that Baba is talking to that space. And Sister Shivani, I think let's just do the first one first, so that they just get a bit, otherwise it may be. So just that whole aspect. So look at this and ask yourself, whatever Baba's saying here, what is the significance of this in my life right now? And I find that when we are able to really work with this, because Baba's highlighting very powerful things here, because we are working in the world of work, we've got responsibilities, we have many things that come up in our life. But reading this again, I would like you to use those 4 points of that first method that Baba had shown, and look at this for your own self. Which words, what is the significance of this personally for you right now? And how can you be able to use this in the right time with the right method? Make it personal in your life. It's good to put pen to paper. We have just read something from Baba. What is Baba telling me through his example for my life? What's the significance of this for your life right now? And what's the timing of this? So, when will you use this at the right time? And with what method? And for others too. Think of those 4 points in your backdrop and make this a personal experience. I know that we have limited time, but I hope you get the gist of this first one. And just maybe write down 4 or 5 points, but make them personal. Feel Baba's telling you something right now. What is Baba telling you right now? Have you managed to put 4 or 5 points? Okay. This is called a speedy churning session. Okay. So we can have the next slide, Sister Shivani. I would suggest maybe just as a reminder to help you that maybe just photograph these slides on your phone so that you can always work with it easily. So the second slide, this excerpt from Baba's Murli, is also a very powerful one in the context of where we are right now. So Baba's saying here, in the spiritual life, the good health of both the soul and the matter is essential. When the soul is healthy, then because the account of the body or illness of the body become from a crucifix like a thorn, through your own stage, you experience yourself to be healthy. Then there are no signs of illness or suffering on your face. You don't even speak about your illness. And instead of speaking about the suffering of karma, you speak of the stage of karma yoga, because speaking of the illness would become the cause of the illness increasing. Such a soul will never experience suffering of an illness, nor will he spread a wave of sorrow by speaking of his suffering. Instead, with the power of transformation, he will transform the suffering into contentment. He will remain content and spread a wave of contentment in others. That is, he will become a master almighty authority, and with the blessing of powers, use the power to tolerate or the power to accommodate according to the time. When you use the blessing or inheritance of powers that you receive from the Almighty Authority Father at the time of need, these blessings or good wishes work like medicine for you, because all these powers can cooperate with you in whatever form you need, according to the situation, the time, and the way you want to use them. You can imbibe these powers or blessings from God in whatever way you want. 1 minute in the form of coolness, 1 minute in the form of burning. They can give you the experience of the coolness of water and so also the experience of burning in a fire. They can work like medicine and also like nourishing food to make you powerful. Just become an authority to use these powers at the right time. All these powers are servers of you, Master Almighty authorities. Whenever you order any one of them, it will say, "Yes, my Lord," and cooperate with you. However, those who take service from them also have to be just as clever. So you can constantly experience the power of the body on the basis of soul power. That is, you can experience always being healthy. So I particularly chose this excerpt because recently around the world we see many souls struggling, and whether they're young, whether they're old, we're seeing there's a lot of karmic settlement taking place, and also the connection with the body. So Baba is giving very, very powerful advice here. So again, just look at it and ask yourself, what is the significance of this for you? When do I use this point or these points? Your timing, and with what method? Or if you are in a situation, how would you use this with others? With what method? This Baba spoke in 1987, but I mean, in all my conversations I have with many young people or many people right now, there are a lot of souls who are suffering. And Baba is really supporting us in this excerpt. So read it and make it personal again. Just look for a moment and make it personal. Okay. I've never done such speedy churning before, but I'm sure we've all
Well,
had.
maybe what we can do is also frame this as a jump start. You know, this is
Right.
not the full process. Of course,
Yeah.
you would need a lot more time, but here we're sort of diving into strategy and tools and techniques. And we've Mona has shared images with the excerpts and the passages. And in one moment, I can put the text. I can put the text in the chat because I've had some requests for that. So if it's easier for you to copy from the chat, I will put the text in so that way after this session, later in the day when you have a moment, you can continue this process later on, because I think there's a lot to unpack here. There's so much, even in these 2 paragraphs, just to unpack. And like Dipti has said, these are the 2 questions she's sort of been asking you. So if you want to note those down and sort of continue this process later today as well, I think that is a good idea.
The main aim is to make it so personal. I think, this can work for you powerfully when you make it personal. Just really take an extract from what Baba's saying and make it yours. Something will only be as powerful in your life when you make it yours. Otherwise, it's something just nice to hear. So you want to go on, Sister Shivani? Yeah?
Yeah, well, we have maybe in the next few minutes, we can just hear, I know this was very speedy and sort of a taste. We've given you a sampler, a sweet sampler of what this is like. I would love to hear from anybody about what their thoughts have been like. How has this, what was highlighted for you, and how was this churning experience? Is it different than what you've done before, or is it the same? Has anything new come out? And if you want to just come off of mute and share for a minute, we would love to hear you. Any brave soul?
And really feel free, because we are aware that there are certain Baba's children here who've been in this knowledge for a long time. And there are some of you who are very new, which is your warm welcome to. But the aim of it is that each one feels that they can take ownership of the Murli. So the method has been kept in a balanced way, so that whether you're old, whether you're new, you have a right to the Murli.
So, Om Shanti, everyone. Loving greetings from roughly approaching 10 o'clock p.m. outside of Sydney, Australia.
Lovely to have you, Shana.
Yeah, wonderful to see you too, Dipti. Yeah, I was reflecting, it was almost like a year, I think, since the last time we in this group were together. I mean, I know we do them more frequently, but I know in terms of time, if I've come full circle and if it's actually a full year, or slightly off topic, but greetings to everyone. Loving greetings. I think the thing that's changed is me. You know, like I've actually encountered these 4 churning questions a few times now over the years. But I think what's changed is like this orientation to myself inside my own head. It's like a somatic feeling. And and it's kind of hard to capture, because it's a very personal on a like how I literally feel the world kind of level. But I know in the past I had a lot of I think it was actually just chronic anxiety or something, and so my thinking was very tight in my head, and I would at the same time process questions like this in an almost very like creative, just journaling, and it would come out clearly. But I feel like there's an opportunity now for me to maybe actually sit in the middle. I'm just talking it out, like it's not 100% like this is it, but I just know that I feel I'm in a different place where I can, I think, really deeply take the questions on and think about them rather than just speed my brain speed through them. So I can, it's not just like this. It's like a two together. I'm not just sitting in my head or in some wildly creative space. It's like I'm grounded and I can feel. I don't know how else to phrase it. Because I'm only noticing it now. But I'm the one who's different.
Thank you.
And it's highlight. Well, what you've highlighted is that we are, as humans, we are living and changing beings. And if you turn this one paragraph we've given you right now, and if you look at the same paragraph 5 years from now, you may have very different reactions to it and pick up different things. Maybe right now your intellect or your heart is focused on one aspect of that paragraph, and 5-10 years from now you'll pick up something else that's relevant to you then. So there's sort of this living, breathing aspect to both ourselves and the text. Our interaction with the Murli, I think, changes over time as well. Definitely.
I think in a more succinct way, in a one-liner, it's almost like there's greater maturity in the self. So it's not like that very bhakti, subservient in my head has got to churn. It's like I can sit with this now. I can let it come to me, and with that, there's like a greater maturity. It's kind of like an empowered detachment from the Murli as something that I can then look at and engage with, rather than being overwhelmed and like trying to take it all and absorb it all and write down every single point. That's the different feeling.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Any other brave soul out there? We'd love to hear from maybe one more person.
Shanti.
Shanti.
For me, Murli, right from the beginning of when I came to Baba, Murli was something not very personal for me. But over the period of time, over the years, as I grew to become more and more attached with the Murli, it kind of I don't know how do I put it in words, but it just kind of became a part of my life and a part of who I am, because that is the only communication, direct communication that Baba has with me, and that is kind of such a deep connection. So as a child, when I was in school, I used to be very contemplative. I used to ask a lot of questions, some relevant, some irrelevant. And of course, there was always this war of science versus, Baba's Gyan in the head, and whatever we had learned or heard about scriptures and religion and all of that, even in the form of stories for that matter. But that phase passed, and now when I see this situation around, there are questions you tend to get, little influenced somewhere. You see people doing things and things happening in their lives, and for a moment you may get a little contemplative or speculative. But I keep reminding myself all the time that this is what Baba has been preparing me for years, for ages. This is what Baba has explained, or this is what Baba was trying to explain to me. This is what Baba was trying to prepare me for. So, what is Baba expecting from me as a Brahmin child at this point of time? What is my role? What is the world expecting from me? According to what Baba has explained about different things. So if so far I have not had that very deep relationship with the Murli, then it's already too late, number one. Number two, I can probably speed up the process of getting into the depth and beneath the surface of what has been missed out so far and make it real in my life, not just keeping the book in my hand reading. It's not just words playing on the screen of my mind or me trying to visualize it, but this is when Baba spoke years ago, this is probably what uh, Baba wanted me to visualize, not just hear, but visualize and put myself in that position that I should be in right now. So, as a Brahmin child, as someone who Baba has selected, what is it that I'm supposed to do? If I kind of sit and contemplate and kind of spend a lot of time on myself, then when am I going to do the service of the soul that is really required at this point of time? So being
Definitely. Well,
gentle.
thank you. Yeah, those are very important points that you have highlighted. I think all of that it's a balance of both the churning and then imbibing. We have to both spend the time to understand and then apply it to our life and really put that out there into the world, make it natural, make it authentic, make it part of just our being. So thank you all. We hope that was a helpful exercise that you can continue later in your day when you have a moment and maybe go way more in depth into that. Because this is a longer session, we wanted to give you a few minutes right now just to quickly go run to the bathroom, get a glass of water before we begin the next and last hour of this session. So if you can come back in about 5 minutes or less, that would be great. We'll start at 5 minutes past the hour. Okay, thank you all and see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you are feeling refreshed and alive, ready for our next session. Did you all get some good stretches in? If you haven't, take a second, get that blood flow going. We have a very special other friend with us right now. Yogesh Bhai is joining us from Turkey. For those of you who haven't had the fortune of meeting him yet, he is a great lighthearted friend of ours at the IYF. He himself came into Gyan at quite a young age in his early childhood, so I think you understand this group well. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, I think I will pass the mic over to you.
Thank you, Shivani. Om Shanti, and hello, everyone. Can I check? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, okay. So thanks to the IYF team for inviting me to be amongst you today. And what I'm going to be sharing is from my own personal journey of yoga and the relationship with the self, the relationship with Baba as well. And of course, a lot has been learned by not just the Murlis, but observing these amazing souls that we have in the Brahmin family. So I've picked up on some of the things which were meaningful and poignant moments for me in my own inner journey. And I'm hoping these will be tools for you as well and can also help you in your own Brahmin life. So the two things we're exploring today are really what we may call as the bread and butter of the Brahmin life. So Gyan, of course, is the basis, and you've been exploring the Murli in the first session. But what is the Murli for? What does knowledge do? Well, it helps to open up the intellect and then enables us to experience this thing called yoga. And for us, as Baba has often told us, you're not just those who have yoga, but you are those who have a yogi life. And so that makes a big difference to us. We are not just those who do meditation, but we are meditators. And many people in the world do meditation to de-stress, to calm down, to handle the challenges of life. And for many, that can be enough. But for us who are meditators, it's more than that. For a meditator, it means it is a lifestyle. And that means as we go through day-to-day life, one part of us is naturally vigilant and checking to see, what am I doing with my thought energy? And that, I would say, is what the life of a yogi is all about. How to use my thought energy and checking our consciousness pretty much all the time. Now, think, for example, of an athlete who wishes to win the gold medal in the races. So for her or for him, eating healthy is a lifestyle. Such a person will naturally be aware what I eat, when I eat, how much I eat. Because for an athlete, maintaining optimum weight is essential. In the same way, for us yogis, you could say that we are mental athletes. As we go about our daily lives, as we enter conversation, interaction, relationships, take responsibility, at the same time, we're checking naturally to see, what am I doing with my thought power? Am I thinking too much? You could add to that, am I speaking too much? But for yogis, it's especially at the thought level. And why? Because we know that the most valuable energy we possess is the power of our thoughts. And so in this regard, going into the depth of yoga is not so much just a technique of how to sit, what to think, and so on. Yes, that is part of it, but rather it's about a yogi lifestyle. It's a package. Sitting and doing meditation is part of the package of the yogi life. And indeed, all the other things we practice in this life, the maryadas and all the do's and the don'ts, they are all for this purpose, for the soul to be able to experience the yoga connection with the Supreme Soul. Because the Supreme, Shiv Baba, is of course the purest of all beings and the highest of all experiences that a human soul can have is to experience the connection with that pure source. So what I'm going to do is to share some ideas with you, show one or two slides, do one or two little exercises, meditation exercises with you. And then also, if you do have any questions which come up or any comments, you can throw them into the chat box and we can also explore them. Is that okay? I'll take that as a yes. So, yoga, two things. Firstly is what we describe as the journey inward, and then the journey upwards. And as you would know, the word yoga comes from the word yuj. And yuj means a union or connection or coming together. And so the question arises, well, the coming together of what and what? What kind of union? So before we can explore the union between soul and Supreme Soul, first we need to explore the union or the coming together of the energy of my own consciousness. In simple words, Atmik Sthiti, making the stage of soul consciousness firm. And this really, I feel, is the most important and main subject in the Brahmin life, working on the stage of soul consciousness, making it deeper and deeper. As our soul consciousness becomes more real, our self-respect becomes very solid. And I think that when our self-respect becomes solid, 90% of our emotional ups and downs begin to peter out and finish. Now, we also know that we are at the end of the cycle, which means we have spent a good 63 births or so living in illusion. So we are carrying lots of false beliefs, false ideas about ourselves within our consciousness. And we have acted upon those false beliefs as well. And the result of that is that we have created this shell of body consciousness around the soul, and it is that which blocks the soul from experiencing God's love, God's light, and God's power. And so the first effort is really to break that shell of body consciousness within which we have been trapped for so many lives. And it's also interesting that when the yajna started, of course, there was not so much knowledge. Even the knowledge of who is God was, not so clear. It took time for the knowledge to become clear. But one thing which was clear is, I am a soul. And because they had only this limited amount of knowledge to work with, that's all they worked with. And many would know that one of the first efforts of Brahma Baba was changing his vision towards his own Lokik family, to break his vision of seeing Jashoda Ma as his wife and his children as his children, practicing to see each one as the soul. And I feel that because Baba, Mama, and Dadis, they really worked on that first lesson in a very intense way, therefore their stage became what it became. And sometimes what tends to happen nowadays, because we have so much knowledge, an ocean of knowledge, sometimes we just skim the surface of many, many different points without really going deep within. So it's one thing to play with the jewels of knowledge. And yes, that's nice, it's fun, it's entertaining. But we mustn't just play with the jewels of knowledge. We must extract the power which is contained within them. So when one is new, then entertainment with Gyan is enough. But as we move forward, we need to learn how to take power from that knowledge. And that's what helps us in yoga. So we're just going to concentrate on the first point today. And that is, of course, the point Om Shanti. So now let me ask you the question. What does that mean to you? Om Shanti. And perhaps you could type or even speak out. I'm a peaceful being. Okay. Calming. All right. Reassuring. Inner anchor. How would you translate Om Shanti? I am a soul. Okay. Reminding myself, I am a peaceful soul. All right. These are, I am peace. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Some good answers coming up there. Here's the way I understand it. I've always heard, I am a peaceful soul. But more recently, I realized it's wrong. Or it's not entirely accurate. First comes Om, and then comes Shanti. Which means first, I have to locate and stabilize my awareness in the consciousness of Om. Now, Om we translate as I, but it's not just I. Om is I, the eternal self, I, the deathless self. So in Hindi, for example, if you want to say I'm going shopping, you don't use the word Om there. Oh, I need to have lunch. We don't use Om for that. No, Om refers to I, the eternal self, I, the spiritual energy. And it takes time to really find that Om and locate it and be there. Why? Because we have a lot of dirt, a lot of pollution within our consciousness, within our soul space. Question: is the soul in the body, or is the body in the soul? Any answers? Paradox, soul is in the body, question mark. Soul is in the body. Okay, all right. Well, I would say it's both. Yeah, both. Okay, we have been told soul is inside the body, right? So that part is there. But as we practice to be soul conscious, we realize we have placed the body inside the soul as well. And you realize how much cleaning there is to do. For example, it is often the case that when somebody has completed the course, they say, yeah, now I know I am a soul. And then after 6 months of practicing Raj Yoga, they say, now I know I am a soul. And after 5 years of being a Brahmin, now I know I am a soul. After 30 years, yeah, now I really know I am a soul. Yeah. Why? Because the wrong belief, not just the body, but the bodily identity is so deep, it takes time to remove it. So just like to show you a little slide here, just to show how much work we have to do. So I call this as our soul space. So here, of course, there is you, there is the soul. And here are some of the aspects of body consciousness, or ego of the body, which we have placed inside our soul space. And they are so deep. Doing this soul cleaning takes up the whole confluence age. We may also describe these as the various ego masks or ego identities which we have acquired and placed inside that sacred space within the soul. So you can see what they are. Some are to do just with the physical bodily characteristics, the age, the color of the skin, the gender identity, the height, the current weight, the nationality of the current body, the religion this body was born into, maybe the family status, and then other things. The job which you may have been doing for a while, perhaps the status you have in society, and then talents, achievements, qualifications, and so on. These are all different forms of ego identities. And what is the case is that each one of us has to check within ourselves to see which particular ego identities am I most attached to. And it's a big job to do this subtle inner checking and to see how deep that ego identity is. Now, why is this important? Well, Baba has told us very simply that your sense of identity then determines your feelings, or we can say your emotional state. Now, in the world today, there are many techniques to overcome difficult emotions, to manage your emotions. Many, many useful techniques. But we don't do emotion management. We go one layer below that, and we look at reclaiming my true identity. So the more I live in soul consciousness, the more naturally I'm going to feel secure. The more secure I feel, the more the mind lets go of these ego-based identities. Simply put, there are these three layers of identity. At the center is the being part, and outside of that is the doing realm, and outside of that is the having realm. And so what we have done as we have gone through the last 63 lives, we have put the doing and the having identities into the being identity. We have polluted the soul. And that's what we call as spiritual pollution or spiritual dirt. And that's the thing which we clean up when we are in the practice of soul consciousness. Now, I remember when I was in my late teens, one of my trips to Madhuban, this is back in the 80s, and I asked one of the Madhuban Nivasis, how do you remember Baba when you're so busy in service? Because these brothers were so busy doing things and meeting so many Brahmins from around the world. So how do you practice yoga when you're so busy? And so this particular brother said to me, well, let me suggest you a 3-day exercise in practicing to be soul conscious. And he said, for the next 3 days, don't worry about remembering Baba. And I was like, what? What do you mean? You're a Madhuban Nivasi? I didn't say this, but I was thinking it. How can he say this? He said, look, for the next 3 days, just focus on the stage of soul consciousness. And so what I did was I made this little chart on his suggestion, an hourly chart of soul consciousness. So from the moment of waking up until the time of going to sleep, like making a little chart on a piece of paper and keeping it in my pocket. So 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, like this. At the end of each hour, asking myself, in the last hour, how many minutes was I soul conscious? How many minutes was I body conscious? So it would start with, 1 minute soul conscious, 59 minutes body conscious. Next hour, 2 minutes soul conscious, 58 minutes body conscious. And the thing is, as I was checking each hour, it made me more attentive for the next hour. So one thing was this, checking how much am I aware that I am that spiritual energy in the forehead. And the second thing was, let's say within the last hour, I came across or I had some conversation with, let's say, 10 people. So I would ask, did I see those 10 people in that 1 hour? Did I look at the center of the forehead? And did I have this awareness, I, the soul, I am speaking with this soul. I, the soul, I am listening to that soul. Did I see that individual as a soul? Or did I think, this is so-and-so from this country, or this is a sister, this is a brother, this person is older than me, this person is younger than me, or, all those things which are the body conscious identities. So practicing these two things, to be soul conscious and soul conscious vision, I did that quite intensely for 3 days. And it was a real game changer for me. I found that in the evening, then when I sat for meditation, like whoosh, I just went straight up to the soul world. No, taxiing around on the runway, trying to kind of lift off. No, just immediate takeoff. And the reason was because the intellect had been prepared through the day by practicing soul consciousness. It was already in that prepared state. So when I sat for meditation, it just took a second, to experience going up to the soul world. So I would really suggest, in terms of making yoga deeper and more experiential, working quite deeply, quite seriously, if I can use that word, on experiencing the stage of soul consciousness. And so for this, I'd like to suggest now a very simple exercise, which is just about developing our concentration to have better yoga. Now, before we can do meditation, we need to have good concentration. If concentration is not so good, then the experience is shallow, and we get bored, and we get up and think, let me do something else. So there are two things which help us to develop concentration. And this is my own experience through my journey. One is visualization, and the other is contemplation. Now, some people are more visual, other people are more contemplative. But as you know here, we use both of these tendencies. And so visualization, creating the image on the screen of your mind. Contemplation, consciously thinking over certain selected thoughts. That's what we do in meditation. Both of these together. As we practice this, visualization and contemplation, the more we practice, this builds up the stage known as concentration. And what is concentration? Concentration is where your mind and your intellect both come together. The mind represents what you feel like doing. The intellect represents what you should be doing. When there is a mismatch between the two, concentration is poor. Just like a student, for example, who has an examination tomorrow. And so the student knows, I need to revise, I need to study. So the intellect is saying, focus, 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 pay attention. The mind may be saying, oh, boring, I don't feel like doing it. Why do I have to do this? So their concentration is poor. But when what I should do and what I feel like doing both come together, that is known as concentration. And the result of concentration is the fourth step, which is called meditation. So in meditation, we are experiencing. We are not thinking. So meditation is not thinking, and meditation is not thinking. Meditation is the experience of thought. So initially, at the contemplation stage, yes, we are thinking, I am a soul, I am light, I am energy, etc. But we want to move that into the experiencing zone. We want to feel it. And that's called meditation. So what I'd like to suggest is we do 3 simple, approximately 1 minute exercises to practice this thing called the visualization. It's a very simple beginner's exercise. So I'll ask you to, I think you already are, have your back straight, your feet on the floor. Make sure you socially distance yourself from your mobile phone. If it happens to be within your vicinity. And we'll just have silence, and I'll speak a little commentary. And I'll just give you an image, and you just try to hold that image for about a minute or so. If you wish, you can even close your eyes for this particular exercise. Okay, so here comes the first one. So just visualize that your forehead is a cave. A cave. And in the center of this cave, there is a candle burning. Just visualize this candle with a very peaceful and stable flame gently burning in the center of the cave, which is your forehead. This candle of peace, gently radiating peaceful light throughout this cave in the center of the forehead. Just be with this image for a minute. Okay, and you can just open your eyes. And just be aware of that feeling that you are looking through these eye windows, just like a person looks through the glass of a window. I, the soul, am looking through these eye windows. Okay, now here comes the second one. Again, you can just close your eyes if you want. And so this time, visualize a beautiful diamond of light in the center of the forehead. This very radiant diamond of light. This is me. I am this living diamond. How precious, how beautiful, how divine. Just keep this image of the living diamond of light in the center of the forehead for 1 minute. Okay, and then again, you can just open your eyes and feel the difference between you, this non-physical energy which has come from another world, and your body, which belongs to this physical dimension. You, this eternal soul energy, and this body, this temporary costume. There was a day when you entered it. There will be a day when you will leave it. And you have done this so many times. Okay, now I come to the third one. And so again, if you want to close your eyes. And this time, that image just of the star, the tiny radiant star. How infinitesimal I am in the forehead, beyond geometric dimensions. This body is an amazing, amazing machine, but it does not work unless I am in the driver's seat, in the center of the forehead. And when I leave this driver's seat, this body will begin to disintegrate. It will finish. But I go on and on and on. I never finish. I am forever. Feel the difference between you, this subtle energy, and this body, this matter made of 5 elements. Just be with this thought, this image, this feeling for a minute. Okay, Om Shanti. So what I would recommend, doing these concentration exercises as much as you can, even if you find you are somewhere, you have 3 minutes, you have 5 minutes spare, just sit down and practice these concentration exercises. And it's like, building up the muscle of the intellect. Just like a person goes to the gym, and the more he or she works out, the more the muscles get strong. So too, to improve concentration and therefore have deeper yoga, we need to do these exercises. And it's like, as your muscles of your arm become stronger, you can hold a weight for longer and longer. If your muscle is stronger, you can keep holding that weight for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's a sign of strong muscles. So too, the sign that my intellectual muscle is strong, I can hold that image for a long time. And you will find as the concentration improves, and I know some of you are very experienced yogis anyway, you can hold that image for a long time and you go deeper into experience. So, for me, this word Om Shanti, this phrase means I, the soul, I am eternal, I am non-physical, and my nature is peace. 3 things to experience. My eternity, how does it feel? I am eternal. How does it feel? I am non-physical. I have come from another world. Literally, you are an alien. You've come from another world into this physical world. And 3, your nature is peace. So that's part of the journey inward to really experience the soul conscious stage throughout the day. Then next, let's just spend a few minutes, whatever time remains, to explore the journey upward. And that yoga connection then with the Supreme Soul, with Shiv Baba. So as we mentioned earlier, the word yoga means union or connection or coming together. And the principle of yoga is whatever your mind is having a yoga with, you become similar to that. So whatever you're thinking of, you acquire the properties of that into yourself. Now, take an example. You may have seen how an elderly couple who have been married for many, many years, they begin to resemble each other. They begin to look like each other, yeah? You may have seen that. Why? Because in the mind of one is the image of the other. Whatever that person is thinking of, those thoughts affect the features of the individual. Some people, they look like their dogs. Have you noticed that? Or maybe the cat. They're having dog yoga, yoga with the dog. So it affects their features too. So for us, why should we have yoga with Shiv Baba? Because this is the most divine being in the 3 worlds, the ocean of all qualities, the ocean of all virtues. And so the sign that I am having yoga with Shiv Baba is these virtues will awaken in me too. In simple terms, this was one of my main reasons I came to, why do I remember God? Why should I have yoga with Shiv Baba? Because by doing so, the best within me comes out, comes to the surface. And I want that to happen. I want the best within me to emerge. I want to experience it. I want to feel it. I want to use it. I want to express it. And I want to offer it to the world as well. So it's only by coming into connection and relationship with that Supreme Being that the best within this soul can emerge. And Baba tells us in a very matter-of-fact, direct way, forget everyone and everything and remember me alone. You know, it's quite like a dramatic sentence. Forget everyone and everything. Yeah, because the medicine has to be so strong, because the illness of being entangled in others is also very deep. So having practiced soul consciousness, then we turn our thoughts to remembering Baba. And also important to remember that we are building and deepening our personal relationship with Baba. So it's not just about sitting and experiencing going to the soul world. Yes, there is that, and we'll do that in a moment. But then also how to maintain that connection, that communication, that conversation with Baba as we go through the day-to-day life. How to make it real, how to make it meaningful, how to make it experiential. So for this, Baba has told us that have all relationships with me. Why? Because we have just been through 5,000 years of relationships. So we are social beings. We know what it means to come into relationship. But yet he asks, now transfer those relationships to me. And so one of the things for us to do is to look within our own hearts and see which particular relationship is most meaningful for me. Which main relationship do I have with Baba and which I need to experience more deeply? And, part of the makeup of one who's a long-term traveler on the spiritual path is to know your own psychology. What works for one may not quite work for another. Baba has given us so many tools in the toolbox. I have to know my own psychology and what is it that brings me to my best. What relationship with Baba do I feel helps me to most directly connect with him? So there are, of course, the obvious ones. Baba the mother, Baba the father, Baba the teacher, Baba the Satguru. But one I'd just like to dwell on for a moment is God as the friend, which kind of, anyone, regardless of their physical age or background, etc. So let's look at what are the main qualities which are important in a good friendship. And let's apply those to Baba. So let me ask you actually, what would you say is the main important quality in a good friendship? Arsi says, smile. Okay, that's important. Yeah. 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 Great. Yeah. Oh, many answers coming out. Talk time. That's a good one. Yeah, all of these. I mean, absolutely. And, there was once a global friendship survey in which they came up with 5 top qualities according to the people they surveyed. Can be different for different people. But the number one, apparently, as some of you have said, is trust. Think of how many people you really trust in your life. Probably very few really trust, because to build up real trust is a big thing. And also when trust is broken, it takes a lot to reestablish it. So you trust someone with whom you can share your deepest and your darkest secrets, knowing they will not broadcast them on the evening news that day. So why do we have so much trust for Shiv Baba? Essentially because he is the only one who has 0 needs. He doesn't need anything from me. Therefore, he can never manipulate what I tell him. He can never weaponize my secrets, as it were. He can never take advantage because he has 0 needs. And at heart, he is the benefactor. So to really trust, the only soul I can truly trust 100%, and therefore the best friend. So, let's think more deeply on what I have gained so far in my Brahmin life from Baba. How my life has changed by coming into relationship with Baba. And we get so much, not just the Gyan and, learning how to have yoga, not just the intangibles, but we get a family. How come we're all together now? This is because of Baba. Baba brings us together. We go to Madhuban. How come? Because Baba created Madhuban. Think of how much I have gained from him. And when you think of what you have personally gained from Baba, then naturally the love grows, the love, the appreciation, the gratitude. And that's what we want. We want that fire of love to be burning in our personal relationship with Baba, so we feel very close to him. So trust is number one thing. Let me just check with tech team. Do I still have a few more minutes, or am I talking too much? No reply. I'll take that as a, you can go on for another hour, Yogesh.
if we maybe another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, sure. I'll just finish this little part. So trust is number one thing. Number two comes up as honesty. So a good friend will tell you not just what you like to hear, but what you need to hear. So for example, if you are wasting your time, your money, your energy, if you are behaving like a jerk, a good friend will tell you you're behaving like a jerk. Why? Because a good friend wants you to stop behaving like a jerk. So sometimes in a Sakamoli, Baba is very direct, it says, you are this, you are that, you are the other. And we may characterize that as tough love, but we need that because Baba is serious about making us into angels. It's not just the comforter of hearts. Yes, he is that to start with, but then he says, now come on, let's do some work. You have to become a deity. So a good friend will look out for us, will, tell us what's ahead in the road so we can keep moving ahead and look after ourselves. Then third one is fun. Yes, fun. Even God has a sense of humor. We like to have fun in our relationships. It's not a business relationship. It's not official. It's not formal. But whatever's in the heart, conversation with Baba through the day, sometimes you see something funny, you're just talking to Baba as a pal, as a mate, as a buddy, enjoying that relationship and that lightheartedness. Yeah, godly sense of humor. Yeah. By the way, would you like to hear a quick joke about God? Just a quick one. Probably some of you know this. It's an old one. How do you make God laugh? No? Tell him your plans. Now, I'm sure he laughs from upstairs seeing, we are his entertainment actually. We are his cartoon show. He turns on the TV and watches the Brahmins and has a jolly good giggle. So fun. Then number 4 is understanding. A good friend understands you. You don't have to spend hours explaining yourself. And one of the sentences that's so common nowadays is people say, you don't understand me. Nobody understands what I mean. So Baba understands me better than I understand myself. He knows my story better than I do. So, sometimes you sit in meditation and you're feeling a bit lousy about yourself or a bit upset about something. You just look at Baba's face, Shiv Baba and Brahma in Brahma Baba's face. You just say, yeah, that feeling comes, I understand you, I know you. And you feel, yeah, this is the only one who really understands me at the deepest level. And then the last one is loyalty. So a friend is with you not just during the good days, but also during the dark days as well. Not only when you're standing at the top of the mountain, but also when you're walking through the valleys, always with you. And hence there is the saying, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So this is the one relationship we can experience only at the confluence age, to really understand and come close to Shiv Baba and experience his company, his protection, and his companionship, and to make it into a yogi life. Okay, Om Shanti. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. Wow. I feel like there's been a beautiful theme of friendship throughout all of these, the sessions today, and you really highlighted what that means. And I love the sort of simple exercises. I think sometimes we think meditation means we have to sit down for an hour at a time and concentrate really hard for that entire time and then maybe we become discouraged when we can't meet that expectation or goal. So I think having those short exercises that you gave us is a great tool to move forward with that. My feeling now is that I want to get a sense of where the group is. We've just had this beautiful journey that we've been on together. And as you can tell from the title of this event series, The Dance of Gyan and Yoga, this is all part of the game. This is all part of the game of life, the game of being in the confluence age, the game of being a soul that has taken a human body. And we've tried to really dive into both of those aspects today in this session. So if you had to describe in one word right now, how are you feeling? How are you? Can you put that in the chat?
May I just say, could I just take leave because I would need to head off now?
Absolutely.
So thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much.
See you again.
Thank you from all of us. Okay, we've got some thank yous for Yogesh, which I think he saw. We've got some words about feeling on top of the mountain. That's great. Feeling satisfied, refreshed, relaxed, empowered, contented, nourished, blessed, powerful, energized, satisfied. Wow, well, good. Then I think this session has done its job. It has achieved its goal in helping to create that feeling. Yeah, connected. Oh, good. So I have a couple of 3 quick announcements, and then we'll wrap up the program together. So the first announcement is that this event has, as you know, has been recorded, and it will be posted on the IYF Brahma Kumari's YouTube page. I know I have seen lots of requests and have been messaging some people about it being recorded. So it will be posted on the YouTube channel. There is the link if you would like to save it. So that's where it will be posted probably sometime in the next week if you would like to share. Second announcement is that this team, there's an IYF program, online program team that's about 7 to 10 people that have been working hard behind the scenes to organize this event. We put on several monthly events last year, culminating in a big celebration in December. This is the first event of 2021, and we will continue in a slightly different format. So as you've noticed, this event was longer and we got to go more in depth. So moving forward this year, we will be having fewer events because we know that there is so much Zoom happening right now that many people are having Zoom fatigue and too many things. So we've chosen to do fewer events, and each one will be sort of in this 2.5-hour format so that we can go deeper in time. So just so that that is on your radar to keep looking out, our next event should be in about 2 months from now. Okay, so 2 months from now, you should receive another flyer and notice. And speaking of being notified, we are going to create a mailing list so that we can email you directly the next time that we have an event. So if you would like to sign up to receive notifications directly from our team regarding the next event, then please fill out the Google form that will be put in the chat right now. If the form is ready, Chandan he will put it in the chat. And if before leaving the link, or if you can open the link and sign up so that you can be notified right away for our next program, that would be great. And of course, my last note here is a thank you. So Chandan right here just put in this link, the tiny URL. So go ahead and click on that. And lastly, I would like to give a huge thank you to all of the people who have worked on this event. As I said, there's a big team behind the scenes that have run the tech today, that have managed the recordings, that have put in effort and thought into every single aspect. of the session today. So thank you to all of them and their hard work and dedication. And we already said thank you to Yogesh Bhai, and so I'll invite Dipti Ben to also come back up here with me on stage, and we'll sort of end with some beautiful drishti together. If everybody can turn on their cameras, and if you want to put yourself in gallery view and scroll through all the beautiful faces so that we can give drishti to each other virtually, I think that will be a very powerful way to end this day. And before doing that, I'll just ask Dipti Ben if you would like to share any last inspirations or blessings or closings for this group.
Thank you, Shivani. I think that Baba's Drishti has always been on the souls here. And as Yogesh Bhai was talking, and I had the chance to look at each one of you, and there was such a beautiful feeling of love. You are very, very special souls, and Baba has always acknowledged his stars on this earth. And so as we see the drama escalating in many different ways, you as that star has to shine brighter and brighter. You are that hope that Baba has, our daddies have, and I know that we are very much supported by the ancestor souls. So never ever forget who you are, and you are really deeply supported, and you are the stars that will truly shine in this darkest night of humanity. So I feel so much love. It just, well, that's it. Done.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, and I've been sitting here for the past 3 hours in this chair, and right in front of me, behind the computer here, is a big window. And right now in California, it's early morning, so we started around 3, and I have seen the transition from night until day. The sun has risen in front of me while we've been together, and it's been the most beautiful experience. And again, connecting to what Dipti is saying is, we are the light. We're the light bringers in this world, and we're the ones who are helping the world make that transition from the day to the night. So thank you again, and we hope to see you at our next session all together. So with that, we will take drishti and then take leave from each other. Om Shanti.
Some of our very special friends. I haven't seen their faces today. So if you do see them, tell them they've been very fondly remembered, and they will all emerge today with us, even though I've seen some of them were not physically on the session today. Please give my special love to them too. Shanti.
Om Shanti.